Hey you all, Farmer Jesse here. Got another great on-farm video for you this week. This one from Helen Skiba of Artemis Flower Farm in Colorado. This is all about no-till, and Helen discusses everything from cover cropping and occultation, her observational approach to soil fertility on a new farm, using soil tests in conjunction with seeing how crops perform for a season, and supplementing with KNF foliar sprays, that's Korean natural farming. And she talks about embracing the sometimes messy nature of no-till. I feel you. Helen grows flowers, but the information and context here is widely applicable. A couple quick notes. This entire video was shot and edited by my partner, no-tillgrowers.com, Jackson Rolette, host of the excellent Collaborative Farming podcast. So huge shout out to him for this work and to Artemis for their time. And Artemis is part of a farm collective. You should watch this video on how all that works. Also, this video was paid for in part by a grant from Southern SARE and made possible, like all of our videos, through the enduring, amazing support of our Patreon members at patreon.com/no-tillgrowers. You can always support our work as well by picking up a copy of the Living Soil Handbook from no-tillgrowers.com specifically, where the proceeds go to making you more content like this. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, like the video if you like the video. Otherwise, here's Helen Skiba with Artemis Flower Farm and the Treehouse Farm Collective.
Well, I'm Helen Skiba and I run Artemis Flower Farm, which is a 1 1/4 acre farm here in Boulder County. I'm part of the Treehouse Farm Collective, which is a group of farmers sharing a 17-acre property, and we work collaboratively to share that land among each other and all of our space and our markets, and we just try to collaborate as much as possible. So Artemis Flower Farm is a specialty cut flower farm, and so we sell to our CSA, we sell to farmers markets, we sell to the wholesale Colorado Flower Collective down in Denver, we sell to a couple of florists here, and I'm hoping to move the farm more toward wholesale outlets and away from where I got started, which was in weddings, just because I'm a grower and I enjoy floral design, but to make it part of my sort of bread and butter is really difficult for me. So I'm excited to kind of use the bigger space that we have here to, be able to do volume for wholesale. I have been growing. This is my 8th season as a farmer. I got started at the Lyons Farmette, which is up in Lyons, and I was fortunate to learn there, and I got thrown into the deep end of floral design and wedding design in particular, because it was just the opportunity that was available to me. While I was growing there, I started experimenting with some no-till stuff because I just didn't like running the tiller. It was heavy, it was loud. I felt like we were burning too much fossil fuel, which was hard to do on a 3/4 acre farm, but I didn't like the bare soil. So I started doing some experiments with cover crops in the fall, and then in the spring I was just doing some tarping or occultation to terminate that and then be able to plant into it. And I just really loved what I was seeing. The soil seemed really happy. It seemed moister. There we had really sandy soil, and so it was really nice to kind of see the effect of not tilling and mulching on that soil moisture, which here in Colorado is so difficult and important to maintain, especially there in a sandy soil. And even, with our clay soils on our new farm here at the Treehouse Collective, when the soil dries out, it's just rocks. It's like blocks, of clay that have shrunk, so it's tough. So keeping as much moisture in the soil as we can is just completely essential here. And of course, no-till encompasses, for me, a lot more than just not tilling. It's a whole set of practices, including mulching, cover cropping, applying beneficial insects, applying beneficial nematodes, just encouraging sort of the microbial community in our soils, because that also helps us with our moisture retention. And then here on this farm, last season, we came to the farm and it was still covered in hemp and plastic mulch and drip from the previous tenants who were hemp growers. So we took through a power harrow on these beds to reshape them after we had pulled out all the hemp. The beds are oriented east-west because that's the way I like it. I like to be able to use tall crops like sunflowers to shade the next bed to the north, and because then I get taller stems, because here in Colorado we just have so little cloud cover and we're so close to the sun that I actually need much more shade than I'm ever going to get unless I covered the whole farm in shade cloth, which would be expensive. In my crop plan, I really try to alternate tall crops with short crops so that I can just get that extra stem length from the shade. And so, but when we got here, the beds were oriented north-south, and so it was a huge pain to reshape everything. And there's still some issues with that of just like where the tire tracks were, there's still some lumpiness. I mean, you can kind of see some of the practices here in the hoop house that I'm pushing for, which is just, these are my ranunculus, and these beds I came through in the fall and I flail mowed everything that was in here. I let that lay on the bed over the winter, and then in the spring raked that off and threw down a lot of compost on top, probably 2 or 3 inches of compost, and then I planted the ranunculus corms that were pre-sprouted right into that, and that's worked great for them. They love it. And then the pathways are mulched. We have a free source of wood chips, so there's some folks that store their equipment on the farm for their arborist operation, and then they come and just give us free wood chips. So I've been able to use those as pathway mulch, which is my favorite because I hate weeding pathways. It feels like such a huge waste of time. So I'm hoping that this will work well. I've also done I bought some big rolls of cardboard and did cardboard underneath the wood chips. So I'm hoping that'll eliminate some stuff. But that's kind of like where we're moving toward, I would say. Mulching with compost, mulching with wood chips, mulching whatever we can that is going to make sense. You know, I'm not going to mulch with wood chips in my beds because I don't want to tie up any nitrogen if I'm, going through and doing transplants in those beds. So sticking with the compost or a tarp killed cover crop. That would be my preference, to keep the cover crop growing, keep roots in the ground, keep photosynthesis happening on all the beds all the time. Like that's absolutely the goal. It's tough with flowers. It's tough for any grower, but flowers I think are particularly hard just because there's a much longer growing season for almost any crop. I mean, my shortest crop is probably 50 days, and that's baby's breath, and it's not a great it's not a main flower, and then some of my greatest flowers are dahlias, which are going to be in the ground from May 1st until frost, October, whatever, and then I wait another 2 weeks for them to ripen and before I dig the tubers. And so it's like, how am I going to cover crop with my dahlias? Like, how am I going to do that? And so kind of some of the things that I've learned from Cody and Mel, just because they've practiced so much in their small backyard plots, is like relay cropping and undersowing. And those are things that I really want to experiment with more, so I'm going to try this year undersowing my dahlias with buckwheat, because if it gets out of control, it'll be easy to kill. I can just cut it and then it can lay there like a mulch and help my dahlias stay more moist. At the end of the season, can I just plant on the edges and in between my dahlias, can I do like peas and oats or peas and rye or something like rye and vetch? I don't know. I'm planting as early as February in the hoop houses, March outdoors, so I have to be able to have that ready. So that's something I'm really working on, is like upping my cover crop game. When you're in year 2, like, yeah, you probably had some tillage come through and released a lot of nutrients, you know, and so yeah, you're living off of that, you know, you're really drawing on the bank there. And so definitely last year I rode that wave. I was just like, I know that I'm not going to need to fertilize this year because of what we did, you know, with the tillage and what they have done before with tillage on this property. What I was also doing last year was noticing and observing. That was my fertility plan last year, was just to say, like, what's happening? What am I seeing? What can I notice from the fertility, from the soil tests that were done? So there were soil tests done in 2020. And what we noticed was that there was just really, really high levels of phosphorus. There's some high levels of potassium too, low levels of nitrogen, but not terrible. And then this particular field had an organic matter content of about 8%, which is bonkers, and I feel really lucky. And I'm just trying not to deplete that. This and the different areas in this field and different areas on the farm are quite different. So there's a patch over on this south side of my field that's like totally different: sand, rocks, really, really low fertility. Like, it was immediately visible. I mean, you can kind of see it from the air where there's this like triangle of garbage soil that, like, and then you can see the plants. Like, if you look out across, you just see them declining in height across that swath. So, you know, that was something that I noticed, that it's like, okay, that area needs some work. It probably needs some supplementary fertility, and that I'm going to definitely supply that to the plants I'm planting there this year. I wouldn't have known that, like, off the bat, you know. Then sort of these back fields where it's a little saturated, because I think because of the shade that we get from that windbreak of trees. It's a little bit saturated, and so I've been doing more broad forking in back there, and then just not touching it at all. I mean, I haven't even gone through and like built beds back there because I just didn't want to mess with it. I didn't want to bring up the soil from the aisles and put it on top of the beds. It didn't seem like the right thing to do. So I think the plan now is just to compost, and kind of build the beds up from where they are. Not that we need raised beds in Colorado. Like, I don't think they're particularly effective because we don't need them to be drier. You know, we don't need any of the area to be drier. The plan is to get a soil test pretty soon, you know, when things are a little bit more alive, probably early May. And we'd like to go ahead and do, like, I mean, I'd really like to go ahead and spend the money on like a PFLA test, and a Haney test and stuff at least once. Yeah, and then I've also been experimenting with a bunch of KNF stuff, Korean natural farming stuff. So, you know, we don't have a lot of woods around here, but we do have this little poplar grove, and I've been making some just leaf mold tea from that. So I just go and grab some leaf mold, throw it in a bucket with water and like a aquarium heater and the like boiled potato. And yeah, I've been seeing some great life. It was really good because I applied this compost in here in the hoop houses, and it was very woody, like a lot of wood stuff in there. And I'm really attributing kind of the good growth of my ranunculus right now to the KNF, that solution, which helps to get things started and breaking down in here. That said, it's been pretty cold, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep applying that as it gets warmer. And then I've been doing some calcium, like eggshell extract, because even though our soils are really alkaline and we have a lot of calcium, it's unavailable. And so foliar sources of calcium are really important, especially for flowers who tend to get hollow stems, sort of like a brassica thing where you don't want those hollow stems, and it's a calcium deficiency problem. So these guys are getting a lot of calcium right now, and doing weekly foliar applications of that because, you know, I have like crap loads of eggshells from my chickens, and so I just could make buckets of it. My philosophy with weeds right now is just, I know that this year is going to be difficult because it's the first year that we haven't tilled, and I know that last year was easier because we did till in the early season, and I know that killed a lot of weeds on the surface. But my philosophy with weeds is like, they're there for a reason. There is a reason. With the mallow, it's like it's aerating my soil. It's also a big spreader, so it's covering the soil. You know, I can tell that the soil needs cover because of the weeds that are here. You know, they're broadleaf, you know, covering the ground kind of weeds. So that's telling me what my soil is asking for. It's kind of the fertility thing I'm on. It's like noticing what's happening, you know, and then you know, soil testing as much as we can afford, and then some KNF stuff. I generally use, you know, things that are slow to break down and slow to release. So bone meals, feather meals, that kind of thing for my nitrogen sources, and phosphorus, not that I need it. And then, yeah, those calcium extracts are really key. I do a compost tea brewer, have in the past. I'm really excited that we have Brian here who's doing his vermicomposting operation, because I'm just gonna use vermicompost to make my teas and, you know, add any stuff I want to do foliar that way. So like a fish and seaweed kind of thing. Flowers just really need that in the early season to get nice beefy plants that are going to give me big strong stems and blooms. So ideally, you know, we'd be making our own soil here on the farm. We're just not, I don't think we're like capitalized enough with machinery to do that yet. But yeah, I mean, we've been looking for more different sources of compost. You know, Jesse has the ideas of these like 4 different classes of compost. And what I need right now is a mulching compost, you know, and so that's what I'm looking for and using. It's like, I want something that's just going to cover the bed, be generally kind of neutral. So that's why I like this hardwood compost. I'm just hoping to cover the soil, give the plants a good chance at, you know, having moisture underneath them and that. So it is difficult. I don't know. I mean, I think we're just picky. We need something pretty specific, and we've got high standards. You know, we want to see that black gold. We bought some Vermont compost this year, and that's been nice soil to have in the greenhouse. It's kind of like, how are we gonna make our own stuff? Because of course I'd rather have the native flora and fauna in the compost here. I don't want to be bringing it from Vermont. You know, it's just that there was a good deal, like a bulk deal that we had with another farmer. He was bringing it in, and we got decreased shipping rates. So it's tough. Compost tough.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful, you know, that Brian's operation with the vermicompost gets going, and maybe, you know, as he is able to do more volume, you know, some of that cost can come down. Because right now it's like, woo, vermicompost, that's expensive, you know. But, and again, it's for specialty applications like foliar stuff. But I'm also hopeful that as we use this sort of hub that we've created kind of accidentally, like, more people can come and more of us can kind of get together and work on projects like that, collaborative projects where it's like, we'd all like to buy from, you know, this one company, and we want it to be this particular way, you know, and we'll buy enough of it that it's worth it for that company to do. That would be great. You know, that's what I love about sort of our community, is that there's enough of us that I think we can kind of create those economies of scale, even though it's not for one operation. So that's awesome, you know. Bed turnover for me, flowers have just a lot of biomass. I mean, they're big creatures. They're big underground, they're big above ground. You mean, think about a sunflower. It's like, what do you do with that? I mean, it's hard to pull out of the ground. Like, if it's alive, that's why I flail mow in the fall, all the sunflowers, or like when they're done, flail mow them. And then once they sit there over the winter, decomposing, like easy in the spring. But during the season, bed turnover is a big challenge for me. It's coming through here, hopefully with a flail, taking that biomass down and onto the surface, which I like. I want to plant into that for my mulch for my next crop, if I have a next crop. But, you know, then I've still got some pretty hefty below ground stuff going on. That's fine to plant into. It's just harder. It's just tougher, you know. So yeah, kind of what bed turnover is going to look like here is flail mowing, and then hand digging of whatever's left in there that's too rooty for us to replant. And replanting might be cover cropping, you know, or it might be another succession. You know, with those successions, if I'm transplanting, and especially if I'm direct seeding, it needs to be clean, you know, it needs to be pretty clean. I can kind of, you know, fit the transplants in, kind of shimmy them in, but, you know, I plant really, really densely because in Colorado, again, having so much light, so much sun, so much heat, I have to pack those flowers really, really close so that they compete with each other and get longer stems. And so it's just tough. It's just tough to fit things in among those big root systems. So it would look like, again, yeah, flail mowing, getting out anything that we can't plant into, raking, smoothing, and then going through and doing our marking and transplanting again. So it's a big process. If I'm super on top of it, I might be able to come through and do an occultation with just a piece of landscaping fabric. You know, if I've got a big part of the field that I can take out of production, I'll use a silage tarp. I really like tarping. I like it a lot. It's just the timing thing. It can be tough. I've tried solarizing with flower crops, but it doesn't work because you got to flail mow first, and then even when you tarp with that clear plastic, they're just tough. I mean, they're just not dying under that. It doesn't matter if it's on a week, you know, which I don't want it to be on a week because that's going to kill a lot of creatures, you know, into the soil profile. You know, even when I go through in Broad Fork now, I can see, you know, the soil structure under there, and there's a lot of micro and macro aggregates, you know, and I'm so pleased with that. It feels like a big step forward already. Like I'm already standing on solid ground, to say the least. So I invested really heavily in perennials last year, which means that about probably like a fifth of the farm, I would say right now, of my fields are perennials. And so that means I just can mulch them. I don't have to turn them. I don't have to, you know, and they're really highly desirable. So I've got 700 peonies in the ground last fall under landscaping fabric, and those guys are just going to get bigger and better over time. I'm just really excited about just easing off the gas pedal a bit with tillage and just like watching and noticing and seeing what's going on here. It's cool. It's a real opportunity to get to know a new place. Like I really, really valued my relationship with the land I used to be on. It was really hard to leave there. It felt like leaving, you know, your best friend, saying goodbye to them forever. And so I'm trying to make a new best friend here. And we're getting there, getting to know each other a little bit better. So But yeah, I'm really excited about just letting things be. That was a big part of rebranding, and why I picked the name Artemis was that she's sort of the goddess of the wild and like chaos and like the unknown, and I wanted to like lean into that because it's hard for me. Like, I'm a very cut and dried kind of person. I like things very orderly and beautiful, and I need to, with no-till, it's different. It's very messy. It's really messy, and I'm trying to like just embrace that mess and be okay with it. So, you know, embracing all of the little things that are happening that I don't know about, and just trying to be there as a witness, you know, and not mess with anything too much. I think that's good. I think I'm good. All right.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that video. There will be links and all that good stuff in the show notes, and you can also follow both Artemis and No-Till Growers on Instagram and all the places. Again, you can support our work at patreon.com/no-till-growers, or by picking up a copy of the Living Soil Handbook at no-tillgrowers.com, specifically where the proceeds go to making you more content like what you're watching right now. Otherwise, like this video if you like this video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.